Strange disease kills 4 in Kaduna, 10 others isolated. Rice farmers give recipe for addressing food shortage. Benue residents stay at home due to high fuel cost. On the foreign scene, shops, schools reopen despite protest call as Kenya's President Ruto says opposition using violence to sabotage country's economy. These are the headlines on Trust News Update this hour. I am Ayuba Ila. Thanks for joining. And now the details. At least 4 people have died and over 10 others admitted at Sir Patrick Yakoa Memorial Hospital, Kafanchan, following an outbreak of an unknown disease in Kafanchan area of Jama'a local government area of Kaduna State. Confirming the incident, the Secretary, Sir Patrick Ibrahim Yakoa Memorial Hospital, Kafanchan, Ezra Joshua, said that the hospital has taken the samples to Kaduna to confirm the type of the disease as well as its possible treatment. Now, reports say all the nursery and primary schools in Kafanchan were locked down by the school's authorities, who have sent their pupils back home to avoid a spread of the disease that was reported on Wednesday. Joshua, who warned parents to stop referring their children to native doctors, urged them to quickly rush to the nearest hospital if they notice any symptom of the disease. Police in Kano say that over 50 suspected armed robbery, kidnap syndicate members and political thugs have been arrested. Police Commissioner Mohammed Gumel addressed journalists after raiding Dala Hill, identified as notorious criminals' hideout in the state. Idris Jibrin reports.
This is the Kano's ancient Dala Hill, once a unique structure from where the foundation of Kano city walls and gate was laid, but now turned to a notorious hideout for suspected thugs and other criminals. Leading police officers on top of the hill, CP Mohammed Gumel assured that all criminals in Kano will no longer have a hiding place.
We are now here at the historical pyramid, widely referred as the ancient Dala Hill, Dus and Dala, which symbolizes economic hub of the city, but unfortunately earlier been hijacked by thugs and turned the place as their hideout and a place of rendezvous, especially for its illicit dealings in drugs, and totally a no-go area for non-members.
According to the command, 7 people out of the 16 thuggery kingpins earlier invited have reported to the command and have since declared their intention to work with the police in fighting crimes across the state.
Today, 20th July 2023 is exactly 2 weeks after such pronouncement. On this note, I wish to inform the good people of the state that the engagement are yielding positive results. So far, a total of 7 out of the 16 of those invited have already reported. By this uncommon gesture, their names are currently in our police repentant register. This implies that henceforth they are not to be arrested by the police of this command or stigmatized by members of the community.
Back at the command, over 50 suspects in connection with various crimes were paraded.
These people invited their victim to pay a certain amount of money. I think specifically 5 million naira, or risk his life, that they are coming after him tonight, that very day. So we are so happy with the way the victim shared his information with the police. We now join our heads and say, let's play along with these daredevil criminals.
While investigation continues into their alleged crimes, the command is also inviting some blacksmiths suspected to be producing and fabricating weapons to the suspected criminals. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Residents of Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, have expressed their dissatisfaction with the recent hike in the pump price of fuel since the removal of subsidy on the product. Speaking to Trust TV correspondent, a cross-section of residents lamented how the new pump price will further exacerbate the high cost of living in the country by inflating the price of goods and services.
For me, 200 is okay. 200, 250 a litre is okay. But 650 is too much. 400 we are complaining, 550 complaining, 650 it's too much. We won't be able to come to work, meet up, because where they pay us 300, and if you don't come to work, how are you going to survive? We don't have any source of living. It's too much. We won't be able to cope.
Because people are suffering. People are crying there and there. No food, nothing, no place. There's no way for people to eat food because of the currency. And the second, let government also break everything down. Mostly the transport fare, so that the first subsidy that they will break it down for us. As we now I'm going home now. I'm going to go. Coming 150. Now I'm going to university. I'm going to pay double transport. So let it happen so that you break everything down.
The salary, how much is the salary of the workers in Nigeria? The minimum wage is how much? As you can see, how much? Even if you are receiving more than 200,000, how much do you go the food stop? Your children, and you have people surrounding you, all they are expecting from you. So please the government has to look maybe to increase the minimum wage so that it will assist the workers.
Now, due to the further increase in the pump price of fuel to 617 naira, most residents of Makurdi have begun to observe a voluntary stay at home. The vehicular traffic usually witnessed on weekdays is gradually phasing out as residents grapple with soaring transport fares. Jimmy Azandi reports.
According to the Makurdi residents, the subsidy removal crisis has exacerbated an already troubling year.
Speaking for myself, I am into buying and selling, so it is affecting the cost of goods in terms of way bill and transportation. So there is hike in fuel price, which is affecting the cost of bringing down these goods from where we buy them down to this region. Some people have to transport down here also to get one or two things. So the same way I'm complaining, they are also complaining because it's affecting the cost of items we are selling by 50 or 100 naira or so. So it depends.
Many whose movements are connected with school runs have adjusted their outings to reflect the hike in the petrol prices.
How the traffic in early hours of the day was absent for today. I saw the quietness on the roads. Everyone was quiet, even in school. There was no traffic at the entrance. So then I said to my friend, is it because most of the students that are done with exams, their parents are not bringing them to school? And then it just occurred to me that no, maybe the effect of the full hike is causing, because since there's no studies and no exams, then a rational thinking human being will just decide that let the children stay at home since there's nothing much to do at school, rather than incur that cost. In fact, where is the money to even pay buy the food? There's no money.
The people in whose houses we stay also, it seems they want to, like, in line with the removal of subsidy, increase their rents and then the whole of that. So the whole situation, in summary, we can say is not easy. It's God has been helping us to cope with it all this while.
In the meantime, the situation is biting harder, and a prompt intervention, if judiciously applied, will make life better for Nigerian masses. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Still on the economy, Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, RIFAN, has urged President Bola Tinubu to strengthen security as a means of attaining food security in the country. This comes days after the federal government declared state of emergency on food security amidst rising cost of living in the country. Refunds coordinator in Gombe State, Abubakar Mohammed Bello, said that the threat to farmers' safety is a major impediment to food production. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
President Tinubu had declared a state of emergency on food security after Nigerians witnessed soaring food prices and rising cost of living. But stakeholders in the farming industry, such as the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, RIFAN, painted a different scenario.
Irrigation facilities has to be improved. Input supply has to be given to farmers at the right time. Honestly, these are our major challenges. Input has to be given to farmers at the right time. Irrigation structures at the dams, at the other places, needs to be improved. And security of our farmers is paramount to be able to achieve what we want to achieve.
The RIFAN coordinator also urged the federal government to rejuvenate the Anchor Borrower program of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to encourage more participation of Nigerians in food production.
Anchor Borrower and so many interventions in agriculture, not even Anchor Borrower alone, but Anchor Borrower and other interventions the government used to give in agriculture to improve food security is welcome. We support that. We need that. Because Nigeria, we are the largest in Africa. So not only Anchor Borrower that can solve the problem of food security, so many interventions in agriculture has to be encouraged, has to be supported, so that to be able to get sufficient and food security in our country.
In addition to hiking prices of food commodities, Nigerians battle exorbitant price of petrol since the removal of subsidy on the 29th May. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
A cross-section of grains sellers in Adamawa say that they should not be blamed for rising prices of maize and other food items in the state. Residents in Numan have pointed accusing fingers at the traders for the rise in prices of grains. Adamu Imam visits Kasuan Cross in Numan local government area of the state, where traders share their experience.
Maize is commonly used as staple food in most homes in northern Nigeria, but it is getting out of reach of many because its price keeps rising in the markets. A mudu is sold at between 1,200 naira, 900 naira, and 600 naira depending on the size. Maize sellers at Kasuan Cross say patronage has dropped because many are struggling to feed once or twice a day. They, however, said contrary to accusation from certain quarters, they are not responsible for the rising price of maize in the market. We usually eat 3 square meal a day, but now even one is a challenge. Very few are still able to afford the luxury of eating thrice a day, while others have resorted to only breakfast and dinner. We have entered a new level hardship due to the rising cost of food items. Maize and sorghum are 100 naira plus per measure. These are grains that people did not even bother to buy before.
As someone taking care of orphans, I can tell you that things have gone so high in the market that we can no longer keep the place running. Government should rise up and protect those who voted them into office.
The maize sellers says the rising price is also affecting them as they have dependents to feed.
The real thing is that the government is trying more than what one may think. But then, if you look at the happenings around, it's very much fearful. The government is making sure that all are stable, but people are not doing it right.
Think over it so that they'll do something about it. If not, the poor people we are dying because it's more than our power. If we want to go and buy, the goods is so high, and if we want to sell and we cannot sell it, no price because we bought it very high.
It's very, very expensive. People coming here to buy from us, they'll all put their blames on us, thinking that we are doing it intentionally, adding money for them, not knowing that it's from the government. So we also pray that the government will hear our cries, they will just accept our plea, help us so that they will reduce the price of things for us.
The traders call on the authorities concerned to come up with price control measures to address the problem. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Numan.
You're watching Trust News Update. Now let's take a look at stories after the break. Why street begging worries Sokoto cleric? Details and more shortly. Welcome back. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Here's a look at the top stories. Strange disease kills 4 in Kaduna, 10 others isolated. Rice farmers give recipe for addressing food shortage. In other news, the Nigerian Senate Thursday has adopted a resolution asking the federal government to direct the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, to suspend issuing tender for the funding of second phase of the National Mass Metering Project, pending review of the process. The resolution followed a motion by Senator Victor Ume on the need to protect local manufacturers from being shortchanged by the procurement criteria of the World Bank in accessing the funds in line with the nation's local content policy. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
Senator Victor Ume, who moved the motion, is worried over the World Bank criteria for accessing procurement funds for the first phase of the National Mass Metering Project, saying though millions of dollars were provided by the global lender, it only favors foreign firms and not local manufacturers.
These local meter manufacturers were pre-qualified and found to be competent because they're manufacturing meters locally. Then the funding aspect failed, and government now went for loan. And when the loan was approved by the World Bank, the criteria for the procurement was skewed in a manner that no local meter manufacturer will get any of the contracts. So I said we cannot allow that to happen in this country.
Making submissions to support the motion, senators picked holes in the criteria set by World Bank, which they say is in conflict with Nigeria's backward integrated and local content policy aimed at supporting indigenous manufacturers to create jobs, hence the need for a review or alternative funding sources for the project through African Development Bank, Afrexim Bank or Central Bank Intervention Fund.
Imagine $155 million recycled inside Nigeria through these meter manufacturers. How many jobs they can create? How better they can become even in that sector. So I said we cannot allow that because if we do, there's no day it will stop. That's why I brought this motion.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria has rolled out procurement for the mass metering project to provide 4 million meters in 2021, in which the World Bank provided $155 million for the project. But due to difficulty to meet criteria for the bidding, local manufacturers were said to have been marginalized. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Street begging is the act of seeking alms from random people on the street. In Sokoto State metropolis, the menace of street begging has become so rampant that beggars are found almost in every corner of the metropolis. This has led stakeholders to seek alternative means of livelihood for the beggars who have become a dent on the image of the metropolis. The report.
This menace has dented the Muslim religion and falsely projected the impression that the religion permits and gives room for begging in Nigeria. Dr. Sani Mehula, a renowned Islamic scholar in Sokoto, says Islam in its entirety has condemned the act of street begging.
Many of Almajiris, the street beggars today, are trying to strengthen their argument with the fact that their root is that of the companions of the Prophet that are called Muhajir, and that's the root word of Almajiri, because the Muhajir. But when Allah talks about Muhajir, He said they do not ask anyone persistently. Allah singled out that particular attribute of them, that they don't ask anyone, and Allah praised them upon that. Also, the Prophet ﷺ in many of his hadiths condemned begging, part of which he said, whoever asks people to accumulate more wealth will have also portion of punishment on the day of judgment.
A popular human rights activist in Sokoto, Ibrahim Tudundoki, says one of the consequences of street begging is that it has now become a fertile ground for recruitment of these young beggars in the streets of Sokoto into banditry and other social misdemeanors.
And take care of all the duties the parents is supposed to give to their children, but they give birth to them and they throw them to the street. And that is why in Sokoto you see now the issue of banditry. The abandoned children become a fertile ground, initiating and recruiting bandits and all other bias in the society. So it's something that is so disturbing.
Dr. Mehula further stressed the need to clear all misunderstanding as well as the stand of Islam and the teaching of Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, on street begging by Muslims.
It's almost consensus of the pious predecessors and the scholars that street begging or whatever form of begging is condemnable, is wrong, and is un-Islamic. Islam encourages us to go for handwork and whatever we can do, smart work, hard work, whatever we can do to earn sustenance. That is why in the Quran, all the prophets and messengers of Allah that were narrated to us, Allah will tell us that this is what they do as a part of sustenance, of looking for sustenance. Also the companions of the Prophet, also the pious predecessors, the scholars among them, all of them will have a particular career, a particular place where he looks for sustenance but not begging.
For Ibrahim Tudundoki, government and all the relevant stakeholders in Sokoto State as well as other states in Nigeria, the street begging has become so rampant and should put all hands on deck to bring it to an end and in place penalties for parents that shy away from their responsibilities of proper child upbringing.
And if you look at it, even the case of Usman Buddha, who caused it, the genesis of it, if you dig the genesis of the cause of the crisis, is because of a beggar. Is begging, and he responds and says, on Islamic, and from there it ignites some crisis and conflict, within, and it led to the death of Usman Buddha. So it's disturbing. All stakeholders need to come together and do what's necessary, because we know that it's un-Islamic.
Studies have shown that even when these beggars are provided for and are taken away from the street through proper rehabilitation or via legal enforcement, one tends to still encounter them on the street again, as the act has somehow become a lifestyle. Abdurrahman Umar, Trust TV News, Sokoto.
On the foreign scene, shops and schools in Kenya reopened on Thursday despite a fresh round of opposition protests that have led to deadly clashes and sparked appeals for dialogue to end the crisis. 2 people died on Wednesday, the second of 3 days of demonstrations called this week by veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga, and the authorities said that more than 300 people had been arrested. In the meantime, President William Ruto has vowed to ensure that Kenya's democracy is jealously protected by all Kenyans. Speaking in Isiolo on Thursday, Ruto challenged Kenyans to work with him to build the country by rejecting violence. Ruto was addressing roadshow rallies during his development tour of Isiolo, where he promised to inject 250 million Kenyan shillings for an economic zone and aggregation center.
Every part of Kenya have said we cannot sabotage our economy using violence and destruction of business and destruction of property. Kenya is the only place we have to call home, and we must protect it by all means. We must protect our democracy. We must protect the peace in our country, because it is a collective responsibility of all of us as citizens.
And in sports news, the Niger Super 8 competition organizers have fined Remo Stars head coach Daniel Ogumodede 250,000 for inappropriate conduct during the final match on Sunday at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena, Lagos. Remo Stars lost the final match to Sporting Lagos via a penalty shootout after both teams ended regular time in a 1-1 draw. Organizers of the tournament, Fly Kite Productions, in a statement said that the fine is on account of Ogumodede's decision to order his players off the pitch over an officiating call he disagreed with. The players, however, ignored the order, electing to continue playing the match, which they lost 2-4 on penalties after a 1-1 draw. Niger Super 8 was held from 7th to 16th of July, with the final match drawing a historic attendance in Lagos. The Super Falcons will begin their 2023 World Cup quest when they file out against Canada in a Group B encounter. Nigeria, having participated in all editions of the Women's World Cup, will battle the Olympic champions at the Melbourne Rectangular Stadium, Australia. Despite making all editions of the global showpiece, Nigeria have only managed to reach the quarterfinal once. That was in 1999 when they lost 4-3 to Brazil. In the last edition of the competition, the West Africans bowed out in the round of 16 after crashing to France. Now, with just 4 wins in 26 World Cup matches, the Super Falcons are eager to rewrite history in Australia and New Zealand. Aside from Canada, other teams in Group B include co-host Australia and Northern Ireland. And that's a wrap on Trust News Update. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ila. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.